I am Ken Willner, CEO of Zumobi, friend of Mark Silva.
And what's that Zumobi?
Zumobi is a mobile app network, premium mobile app network to be exact. What we do is we're an interesting hybrid of both an app publisher, we do indeed publish apps, but we also have our own rich media ad delivery platform, and we monetize the apps. So we're both a publisher and
In-game
an ad network, if you
in-game ad network.
Essentially, in-app
In-app,
ad network. Our model is really about rich media experiences inside of apps, in-app sponsorship.
What's the reach on that?
Well, we're in the millions of uniques a month.
Yep.
And individual apps have very specific, unique audiences.
Yep.
But we're really about driving engagement. So as we continue to build reach, what we offer advertisers and consumer brands is a really deep experience with your user base, not just a passing sort of lowest common denominator ad exposure,
right,
but actually some interaction and some engagement.
Sort of after someone sees an ad impression, that is sort of the question. And then what? And now what else do we do?
Exactly right. Do you want them to engage with some video content that you might have? Do you want them to learn more about your corporate vision? Do you want them to learn more about a particular product? All those things can be done now in a pretty rich way in apps.
And who are some of your clients?
We have done, on the media side, our publishing partners are MSNBC, Today Show, TLC Network, Motor Trend Magazine, Parenting Magazine, really a lot of large media properties, more on the way. And then on the advertising side, we've really the top 100 advertisers, everything from Unilever to P&G to Pepsi a number of times, a lot of the auto brands, Lexus, Mercedes, Ford.
Yep. And your background, you actually came to this space from AT&T, correct?
Yeah. So I had a really interesting path to get here, which makes sense once you're here. It didn't seem to make sense along the way, but it makes sense now. I grew up in the ad agency business, so I spent 15, 16 years working in ad agencies, so I got a really strong understanding of the needs of marketers and the needs of consumer brands. And then in the early 2000s, I went on a path of wireless. I joined AT&T and started working in mobile communications and mobile media. And those two things have now converged for me, where my sort of background in advertising and my background in mobile have become relevant to what I'm doing today.
Yep, and we're in the AppNation Conference today. Any ahas here so far? Anything that has stood out?
Well, it's interesting that there is a conference on mobile apps. First and foremost, that kind of speaks to the trajectory of this business over the last couple of years specifically, and so that's really nice to see. And I think that the other thing that's nice to see is the sort of breadth of companies and people embracing everything from the VC community and the financial community to the advertising and media community to the mobile community, all sort of coalescing around this one pretty shaped charge around mobile applications.
Yeah.
So I guess it feels more potent to me than many of the other conferences I've been to because it's very focused and and there's a lot of firepower here.
Yeah, and in fact, there are a lot of big names here, but it seems like the egos are kind of checked to the door.
Yeah.
It's almost like the early days of the web where there's this real desire to get to knowledge and not posture right now, right?
I think that's true. I agree with that. I think that's true. I think it's, people are learning. Journalists are learning. There are journalists are here who are covering the space for the first time or learning about the space. And the other thing is one of the humbling aspects of this business is that it's moving so fast that no one can possibly have all the answers. And I think that's great. I don't know what, 2 years from now, with apps and connected devices and, this sort of this velocity of this business, what's going to happen. And that's really good. It's humbling, and I think it keeps everybody even, and we're all here to learn.
So millions of views a month
Yeah.
On your network.
Yeah.
What are some of the trends that you're seeing? So you think about like just a 6-month trajectory and growth of either platform or usage of a kind or a demographic.
Sure.
What are some of the things you're seeing?
A couple of interesting things. One, from a demographic standpoint, one of the things that I might not have thought about 6 months ago is how important the moms category is. And in particular, that's meaningful to CPG advertisers,
right,
for sure. But we're getting a lot of demand, both from an advertiser standpoint and from a usage standpoint, and from a editorial standpoint for that category, for creating content and distributing content that's relevant to that category and for monetizing that content. So that's a bit of a
and driven largely by like iPhone device?
Smartphone and iPhone.
Yeah,
and
but I'm kind of
specifically,
I'm pushing a little bit harder on one platform
Yeah.
or the other. Is it iPhone driving it, or is it Android?
Yeah, that's what we've seen.
Yeah,
is iPhone.
that's the reality. And I think people are just afraid to say that for some reason. But I some of the stats that we've seen on the iOS from just Google Analytics on clients' websites have said it still is an iPhone world.
Yeah, I think that's right. I will say that in terms of total numbers, Android's catching up fast.
No doubt.
We're shifting a lot of our energy and resource towards Android now. We're going to continue to develop for iOS, but we're shifting. And those are the two that matter today.
Yeah.
Those are the two that matter.
Isn't it great, though, that you can have two that matter? Remember, even at AT&T, you had carrier level issues, you had 250 devices you had to do.
Yeah.
So just the ability to say there's two is almost part of what's making this market, I think, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And, when I think back, probably nobody could have catalyzed it as well as Apple. And the reason I think that's true is that because Apple's so vertically integrated, they make the hardware, they make the OS, they essentially curate the App Store. All those elements, because they're under one roof and sort of one dominion, if you will, one domain, I think it couldn't have happened. At least it wouldn't have happened as easily without that.
Right.
Without that vertical integration. That kicked it off, and then now all of a sudden there's a template. There's a template out there, and there's a model that people can pull pieces from and broaden.
What phone do you have, by the way?
I carry an iPhone.
Really?
I have the 3GS. I have not yet upgraded to the 4, but
That's
I
all
will
right.
do
Well,
that.
the
I will
iPod
do that.
4,
I will
the
do that.
iPod, the new iPod will be your FaceTime device.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you also have Android?
I do. Yeah,
tablet or?
I have an iPad, tablet. I have an Android. I think I have the Droid X.
Yep.
And then we have at the office,
Sure,
obviously,
the whole lab. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right. But my, the device I carry is the iPhone.
Yeah. Just all it's interesting.
I love it. Yeah.
And what's your favorite apps on there?
Besides ours,
Exactly. Well, some of those. What are your favorite of those?
Well, I'm a news junkie, so
Yeah.
I hit MSNBC 10 times a day.
Yeah.
It's a great way to keep up to speed. I'm also follow sports, so we do publish a bunch of sports apps, and those are fun. And then I love, I love Facebook, of course. I'm always checking Facebook. I actually, probably like a lot of people's behavior, I use Facebook on my phone way more than I ever used it online.
Totally.
And it's easy. They've done a really, really nice job.
Ken, thanks for the time today. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Mark. Good to see you.